Welcome to the Health Trip Podcast. My name is Jill Foose. I'm a functional medicine and integrative nutrition health coach. I created this podcast to bring you along as we travel down intriguing, science packed roads, debunking old medical paradigms and perusing new innovative therapies and modalities with the finest functional medicine doctors, practitioners, and like minded biohackers while living our best life. Enjoy the show. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Health Trip Podcast. Most of the menopause conversation happening right now on social media, in podcasts, and in the press is aimed at women going through a natural transition. But there's a population of women who are entering menopause differently, and the conversation is nuanced. Women whose menopause was sudden, surgically induced, and arrived in the middle of one of the most frightening experiences of their life, a cancer diagnosis or a high-risk prevention decision. Today's episode is for those women and for every woman who loves them. My mother was in menopause when her breast cancer diagnosis was made. She was 50 years old, on estrogen and progesterone at the time, and her lump was found during an annual exam. I was a new mom at the time with a 6-month-old, and I remember going with her to her radiation appointment, sitting in the hallway with my baby, waiting for her. It was scary, and no one talked about menopause, even then, what her future would look like or how this would affect her long-term health. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-40s, 20 years after her diagnosis, that my doctor talked to me about perimenopause and my options. Today, we are talking about breast and ovarian cancer diagnosis, survivorship, and navigating menopause. My guest, Elana Silber, is the CEO of Sharsheret, a national nonprofit organization supporting women and men and their families facing breast and ovarian cancer. She has spent her career at the intersection of cancer, women's health, and community, and she is here to talk about something that gets almost no airtime in the menopause space. What happens when cancer forces the conversation? Under her leadership, Sharsheret has become one of the most trusted resources for women and men navigating hereditary cancer risk, treatment decisions, and survivorship. Elana brings both professional and expertise and deep personal commitment to this work, and she is one of the most important voices in this space. A short medical disclaimer before we dive in. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice or to make any lifestyle changes to treat any medical condition in yourself or others. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. And this disclaimer also applies to any guests on the podcast. So sit back, open your mind, and let's dive in. Hey, Elana, welcome to the Health Trip Podcast. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor. I've read about so much of the good work you're doing, and it's a great opportunity for us, for me, and for Sharsheret to be on your show. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. This is a great conversation we're about to head into breast cancer, survivorship, and the conversation around menopause hormone therapy is a hot topic right now. But before we dive into all the juice of the podcast, I want to learn more about your journey and how you found your way to this amazing organization.
Okay. So first of all, the organization is Sharsheret, and we are a Jewish breast cancer and ovarian cancer organization. And we serve women, men, and families of all backgrounds all across the country. And Sharsheret is the Hebrew word for chain, and it symbolizes the connections we can make with women, with each other, with
Mhm.
healthcare resources, with incredible people like you to help at any point of the cancer journey, whether you're at increased risk for cancer because you have a mutation or you have a family history, whether you've been diagnosed 10 days ago, 10 months ago, 10 years ago, Sharsheret can help you. And even in the survivorship years, you can think of Sharsheret as the place you go to complement the medical care you're getting. We step in where the doctors step off. So we don't do anything
Mm.
medical, but we can help you build your medical team. We can figure out where to go and what to do, manage side effects, make informed decisions. Everything's free, everything's confidential. And it really started, it's 25 years old, but 25 years ago, and I'm definitely aging myself, which puts me in the right age group for this conversation. But I was a young woman looking for meaningful opportunities, and the founder, who was a rising attorney, she had clerked for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was an otherwise healthy young woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer and was really searching in the community for resources and support to manage her diagnosis from balancing career. She had two young children, intimacy with her husband, and she really couldn't find it. But then she was introduced to another young woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer and about 6 months ahead of her. And she carried her through those harrowing days before surgery and
Mhm.
chemotherapy. And she said, "This is what's helping me." So she said, "Let's start an organization, peer support. If we can help 5 women a year, success." In the first year, 1,000 women reached out and loved it. And then they
Wow.
started saying, it's great that you have a peer support network, but we really want to understand this whole genetics issue. Genetics was exploding at the time. This was 2001. They had just found the BRCA, the BRCA gene mutation was like out there, and people were talking about testing, and people were starting to talk about cancer. Sharsheret was helping create this narrative. So then they started to build this organization, and I was in the community, and I saw, here I was a woman, younger woman. This was a this is a big issue. It affects families. Everyone I know had somebody with breast cancer. So I started as a volunteer and then and was so inspired by the founder, Rochelle. And she said, I think Sharsheret is going to grow. Do you want to work? And I said, I do. I had 4 little kids. I said part-time and I have an MBA in healthcare and I'm pretty like closely connected in the community. And those are the things you need to start a nonprofit, right? You need to have connections and you
Yeah.
need to understand the cause. And we started to build programs and reach people and connect with any way we could get the word out. Like if only podcasts had existed then, you
Yeah.
guys have tremendous reach. And that's how I got involved. And I was a volunteer and I started out as like developing programs and kind of it was a startup. I don't even think about it then, but that's
Hmm.
really what it was. And
Yeah.
building the systems and building the programs. And the women were amazing. Like people say to me, 25 years, I'm there 23 years as a professional and 1 year as a volunteer. And they said, "How are you still there?" I'm like, the stories of the women that we meet, what they go through, what we learn from them, what others can learn from them, it really is the energy that gets us up and going every day. So I'm
What
glad
an
to hear.
incredible story. I did not know the background and I did not know what Sharsheret meant in Hebrew. And I should because I'm a Jewish woman. I've been to Israel and I do know things like this. But what a beautiful story that is. One of the interesting things about your nonprofit, though, is you don't exclusively serve Jewish women and men. You also have a small percentage, small population of people who are of different faiths.
Right. So 20 to 25% of the people reach out to Sharsheret for support are not Jewish. And what's interesting is they reach out to us because everything at Sharsheret is so personal. While we're helping 8,500 to 10,000 women a year, when you call Sharsheret, whether you call by phone, you reach us by text, whatever you do, you are the only person in the room. We have skilled mental health counselors, social workers, genetic counselors, and everything is free and everything is easy. Like we know nobody has time for this. So you can call us, you can text us, you don't have to go to any office. Like everything is easy and we just get it. No red tape, no bureaucracy. You call Sharsheret, you get a person. You also have a tremendous website of resources. We leverage technology, but I think that's why everyone's reaching out. Also, because the Jewish community is so hard hit by
Yeah.
genetics, then they're like, well, I want to go to that organization that knows everything about
Mhm.
BRCA genetics. And we have families also that maybe someone in the family was Jewish. With genetic testing, people are finding out now that, the grandmother that gave them bagels for breakfast, that grandmother was Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry. So they have an increased risk for cancer. So
Hmm.
it's really important to know your family history. And yeah, so we have people all over the country, all over the world, all different backgrounds. And the truth is, this is a cause that there are no borders, there are no boundaries, there are no different. Like at the end of the day, what we want to do is help more people and we want to lead to healthier outcomes. So it is our pleasure and our honor to serve many backgrounds and many people and of all ages. And men and women. Some people, we have men that call. People think, all the pink, it's all women. But men carry mutations too,
Hmm.
and men do get breast cancer. It's rare and it's actually really
Right.
challenging, but we're there for them, and we have quite a few calling too. So the point is, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're concerned about breast cancer and ovarian cancer, no matter who you are, call us and we can help.
So it's not just about someone who has a cancer diagnosis or is in treatment currently. This is for also someone who has a family history and is just really worried and concerned about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is every woman hopefully is going to turn 40, right? And the recommendation is to get your mammogram, right? That's still the gold standard. We can talk about other modalities, which also are helpful. And that's very daunting for a lot of people. And Sharsheret helps people. We have a special program called the waiting room where you go in. How many women do we know out there who go for a mammogram and they get called back? Right? And
Yeah.
that's and you can't call your mother, you can't call your sister because you don't want to make them nervous. It's not anything. You can call
Hmm.
Sharsheret. We can help you. We've prepared women on what to expect at the mammogram, what to do. Like we had a woman who said, like, every time I go for a mammogram, I go to buy shoes. I tell myself that's the day I'm buying high-end shoes because at least I have something to look forward to at the end. Because you're going to this place to find out if you have cancer. That's not so much
Hmm.
fun. But if you
Yeah,
know you're going to buy that pair of, the name brand shoes, not promoting anyone, but you're going to buy whatever, Jimmy Choos, you're going there. It kind of brightens your day.
totally.
But we can help give you like little tidbits like that just to get you through. And if there's a problem, we can manage that.
Yeah. In researching to prepare for this podcast episode with you, I learned that because we have better access to screening, and this was my experience a couple years ago too, and my mom is a breast cancer survivor, so screening for me is very important. That now that we have more screening modalities and more women have access to more screening, there's going to be um, more little concerns that aren't going to necessarily turn into a cancer, but they're going to find different things and you're going to get called back and it's most likely going to lead to nothing. But just that callback alone can keep you up at night. For myself, I had a callback on both breasts 2 years ago, and I didn't sleep for 6 weeks. It was really worrisome because I knew my mother's history, but at the end of the day, it was nothing. So we should be so. There's that being grateful component that we do have screening and have more access, but also it comes with a price, which is the more worry.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the whole issue of false positives, but these aren't
Yeah.
even false positives. And the truth is, it's very important for the medical community or whoever you're, the professional, to know that you've had these episodes because that will help inform them for your next screening. So it's not meant to be scary, but right, like, wouldn't it be nice if you could just pick up the phone and speak to someone like who you knew at
Yeah.
Sharsheret and say something like, "Hey, Bonnie, I'm waiting here. I don't want to bother anyone. It's probably nothing. Let's talk about it." It's just nice and we're eager to help. So it's a good place to turn to and we speak to so many women so we can tell you this woman, this is how she managed it. This is how we're going to keep you busy. This is how we're going to distract you. We always tell people like we're our best authors. We write fiction before things like stick to the facts. And in the end, people are very grateful. And we even started this program called the Mammo Grant that it started out that a lot of women who came out with clean mammograms sent us a donation. It could be $18, $100,
Mhm.
$1,000. It could be $2. But they were like, where do I put it? We had a woman just yesterday who sent a donation, and of course, we're so grateful. So we thanked her, and she said, "Yeah, the truth is, I had a sticky situation. It ended up like your story. It ends up being fine, but I really felt like I wanted to give back, and so she made her mammo grant, and now it's become a little bit. We have a woman in Florida who's like, let's make this a big campaign, and everybody, when they go for a mammogram, think share it. Yes, make a donation, but also think you can call them." And that's the Mammo Grant. So, just keep
Oh,
it.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I do it too. Every time I go,
Uh-huh.
I immediately like send money. It's a little bit of
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
maybe a little bit of superstition, like, keep it going or something.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many women facing breast and ovarian cancer are also facing menopause as a direct result of their diagnosis or treatment?
Okay, so like that statistic is probably hard to say. I mean, we know how many there are, I think about 35,000 women a year under 45 that are diagnosed with breast cancer.
Hmm.
So then likely if their treatment leads to either an oophorectomy, removing their ovaries, or radiation to that area, that they will have their fertility will be compromised and they may go into menopause. So as we see more younger women being diagnosed, we're seeing more of those challenges coming up, and and as we find more people go for genetic testing and find out they carry mutations,
Hmm.
because sometimes people uh, find they go for genetic testing. A couple of years ago, it was very popular, 23andMe, which we don't say people, it was kind of like an entertainment type of genetic testing thing. And people for fun, they wanted to find out, did they have Italian ancestry? Do they like pasta? But they
Hmm.
also tested for BRCA BRCA gene mutations, and people were finding out. So then they were, all up, all nervous, and they would go to the doctor and they would go schedule surgery and they do prophylactic surgery, and we'd find out that they actually had early stage cancer. And then they were faced with this whole thing about menopause, like do they take out their ovaries and all that. So I think the actual number is growing as the number of younger women are more
Yeah.
diagnosed and also carrying mutations.
Hmm. And so talk about the difference between surgically induced menopause and how that differs from entering into menopause naturally, because there is a very big difference, and there are different ways that a woman can be induced into menopause due to chemo or radiation, or like you said, the oophorectomy or prophylactic surgery.
Right. So I think we think, well, now everyone's talking about menopause, so I think it's a little bit more known. But menopause, when you are naturally going to menopause, happens over many, many years,
Yeah.
right? And your body is learning how to adjust to the changes. And lots of things happen, from brain fog to inability to sleep to night sweats. But your body is learning how to manage that over many years. And I'm just putting a disclaimer out there now. I am not a doctor. So anything
Mhm.
you hear on this podcast, please go to a doctor, and any medical information. I am not providing any medical
We
information.
covered a medical disclaimer. You're all good.
Okay, but just so they know, like,
Yep.
oh, Alana said, I'm not a doctor. So if you're a doctor, you trust your doctor. But
Hmm.
also as a woman, I'm going to speak also. So it can happen over time. And along the way, your body here, when you go in, let's say you're removing your ovaries, either because there is a cancer, or you've had a genetic mutation and you want to, or a family history of ovarian cancer, and you take it out, you literally are put into menopause overnight.
Hmm.
And for some of the women that reach out to us, that is more, they fear that more than the double mastectomy. I had a young woman, she's turning 40. So she said at 40, she's found out she was BRCA positive. Her father carried the mutation, which people don't realize that men can carry the mutation
Yep.
and pass it on to their daughters. So she knew for years that her father had asked for his kids to be tested, and she went in for a double mastectomy. And it's a huge surgery. This is like very physically taxing. It's not easy. There's questions about, what you do after. It's not one and done. Do you do reconstruction, implants? There's like a lot of different options, which Sharsheret can tell you about all the different things and what people do at each age. And then it was recommended that she had an oophorectomy, and she kept calling me, and she's oophorectomies and removing her fallopian tubes and her ovaries. And she said, Alana, I am more nervous about the oophorectomy than I was about the mastectomy. I said, what do you mean? The mastectomy is like the biggest surgery, and it's messy, and it was long. And she happened to have had a very long case. And then she said, because you know what I feel like? If I have a good surgeon, I have a good plastic surgeon, they're going to make me look great. But when they take out my ovaries, I feel like I'm not going to be the same person. I'm
Yeah.
worried about what I'm going to be tomorrow. And she had two young kids, a husband, a job, a very public job. And she said, I'm nervous about it. And she was talking to me over and over again. And then she met another woman who said to her, wait, how old are you? 35, 40? She said, well, my doctor told me that I could take out my fallopian tubes now, keep my ovaries in, and delay
Mhm.
my menopause for a few years. And she said, you know what? She said, Alana, I'm gonna, we worked together. We put together her medical team, and she chose that option, and she feels very good with her decision. This was surgery that's been recommended and seen really, really good outcomes
Mhm.
that women can, because they're not even sure ovarian cancer is actually from the ovaries. There is a question that
Right.
starts, it probably should be called fallopian tube cancer, but I think we're so used to ovarian cancer. And that's really, once it presents, that's where it is. And so she bought herself 5 more years of being, and she's closely monitored, and she's in touch with her doctors, and it was approved by her doctors. So though there are options. And I think people really need to know that because they're probably hearing tidbits about menopause. And while we're hearing more about it, it's really good and options. And also people are thinking, wait, I should really be thinking about this. And people are getting nervous. There's a girl I spoke to yesterday. We were on a walk and she said she's 43. And she said, I said to my friends, have any of you started thinking about menopause? And they're like, no, should we? And she's like, we're in perimenopause. And they started talking like, oh, I didn't realize, yeah, that's going on with me. There are things I can do today. And she's like, yeah, and those weren't necessarily cancer survivors, or some of them
Right.
have genetic mutations, but the conversations are happening on the street. And now we have to bring them into the healthcare setting so that women really can get treated. This is a real situation that with the right interventions can be mitigated because they're also medical. Going into menopause is not only socially, oh, I'm going to have night sweats, which are very uncomfortable, and people I think, or my skin is going to age. But their osteoporosis if you go into
Hmm.
early menopause, is a big risk, cardiovascular issues.
Hmm.
We can mitigate those side effects if we're knowledgeable and we speak to the healthcare professionals that are trained in this area and qualified to help work with each person individually.
So a couple things come to mind right now. One is this is why I started the Chicago Menopause Collective because it is still so incredible that women are walking around and don't know where they are on their menopause journey, even without having any cancer diagnosis or breast cancer in their family history. They just don't know. We might be in the conversations because that's what we do, but 90% of the women out there really don't know about menopause. So thank goodness the conversations are happening on the street. And you're right, we got to bring it into mainstream healthcare, which is doing a much better job at it. Second of all, I really love that you brought up the conversation about the fallopian tubes and ovarian cancer because I read this years ago about women who were being proactive and taking out their fallopian tubes, maybe even when they were done having their last child and doing it early, just in terms of being prophylactic. So for Sharsheret, um, when a woman comes to you and she's talking to you about a family history of breast or ovarian cancer, is this a conversation you would just bring up, or do you wait for them to bring up a surgery that they might be going through? How do you educate them on this type of research and science that's going on that's not talked about in the mainstream media?
So we have this team of mental health professionals, social workers, and genetic counselors, and a lot of our patients who have genetics issues talk to our genetic counselors, and we do bring up these issues, and we do address things that they don't bring up. We don't wait for them to tell. While we learn their story, we put together a profile and we indicate it. I mean, a perfect example of this, which is a little bit off of this topic, but gives you a picture. Probably, I would say maybe about 10 years ago, one of my friends was actually diagnosed with breast cancer young, and she was talking to our staff about chemotherapy and just talking about like where she was going. And then we said to her, do you know about this procedure called the cold cap? And she's like, what are you talking about? That you could freeze your hair follicles in during chemotherapy, during the infusion, and potentially save your hair. She's like, no, no one ever mentioned it because it was kind of new on the market. She ended up asking her doctor. She was able to access it and it saved her hair. It doesn't work for everybody. We know it's not
Right.
perfect. But what we do at Sharsheret is we keep our fingers on the pulse. So when these options with the removing the fallopian tubes and leaving the ovaries, we do. We also say talk to your doctors. We have resources that are printed out with options and like kind of logic trees. Like, if this is your situation, these are your options. We do online webinars. So when we speak to a woman, we say, for more information about this, check out this webinar. And it's not only to watch it, you can read a transcript and I don't know, you could stick it into ChatGPT if you want a summary. Find in this 15-page transcript, find me information that I need for myself. And it's really reliable information from top doctors. So we do very often bring up things that people are not thinking about. And that's why, and then I remember, a couple of years ago, weight loss medication, the GLP-1s, right?
Mhm.
And immediately we got it up online. We had, I don't know, 1,000 people register for that webinar because can you take GLP-1s with cancer? Everyone's like, oh, no, 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 you can't. Well, you actually can. And is it a
Right.
good thing? And it might be good. And look, it's not for everyone and you have to know the risks. But I think anything in this conversation, even when we're talking about menopause and hormone replacement and all the different types of things that you can take, you have to understand everything has a side effect, but we have to the risks might not be so great and the positives could outweigh the risks. So we identify what is up and coming. We have a medical advisory board who keeps us in the loop. We are constantly training our team and we're talking to women. Women talking to women is a great source of information. People are smart. They are strong, they're advocating for themselves, and they're bringing the information to us. And then you have the central location that pulls all this together, medical community, individual women's stories, what's in the media. And you can it's like one-stop shop. I'll call Sharsheret and they'll give me everything. So we don't overwhelm you. Obviously, these are very challenging times when you're diagnosed either with a mutation or a cancer. But we definitely bring up things that they wouldn't have thought about because we want people to know their options because that's what you need us for. And the
Yeah.
medical community asks us to do things like that because while they're caring for patients, they don't have the way to amplify this. And I think with what you're doing, with really getting women, far and wide in Chicago and beyond to understand the issues is really critical because the medical community can't do it. They have only so much time. They need us to get the word out.
Well said. Well said. I love the cold cap. When my mom, so she was a breast cancer survivor when she was 50. She went through breast cancer treatment. And then just a few years ago, she was diagnosed with bladder cancer. And so the cold cap obviously wasn't available back when she was 50. Now she's 85. And the cold cap was available for women, for men and women going through bladder cancer, but not her specific type of bladder cancer. So you're right. It's not for everybody. But I have seen it help so many women keep their hair. And I've been on a hair loss journey for 25 years myself. So I know personally how much losing your hair really affects your overall well-being, your confidence. Women want their hair. We want to feel beautiful. And when you're going through something like cancer treatment in that survivorship period and not feeling your best, when you want to look in the mirror and you want to have that hair, you want to still feel beautiful and look the same way. But that being said, I just recently met an organization in Chicago called, and I'm just going to give them a shout out here because they're amazing. It's called Hair Lab Chicago, and they make prosthetic hair wigs. So I guess you don't call them wigs anymore. They're called prosthetics.
Well, they
They are
probably, yeah, they've tried, yeah.
Oh, they are so gorgeous, made from real hair in Italy, and they teach women how to put them on. And I was blown away by how these women who were going through cancer treatment looked with their new hair on. It was just
Right. Because it's almost a
really,
slap in the face to get like an ugly plastic wig, right? Like that's
oh
like
yes,
we have a wig program at Sharsheret where not every insurance will cover it, and it's very expensive, these wigs.
yeah,
So
it is,
we provide financial assistance for women, either to do the cold cap if their insurance doesn't cover it,
yeah,
either both, and to also get a wig. Many women order a wig. We tell them at the same time in case it's not
yeah,
perfect or it doesn't work or you give up. It's not easy. You have to, it's very
right,
cold on your head at times. But I
yeah,
mean, kudos to them. Honestly, that's just such a wonderful service because the number one question when people are diagnosed with cancer first is, will I live or will I die? And the
yeah,
next one is, am I going to lose my hair? Because you don't want to look like a
100%.
cancer patient. And there
Hmm.
are many medications and treatments where you don't lose your hair. So
Right.
very often someone will have cancer, which it's a plus and a minus, right? Because then people see you and like, oh, you look so great, everything's great. And they're like, yeah, my life is really hard right now. So it's mixed messages, but I think at the end of the day, being preserving hair is tremendous. And even in menopause, people are seeing, hair loss.
Oh
And
yeah,
and you said women, I know for men also there's like a new drug on the market, which has become very popular for men. It's not really for younger men. I think it affects fertility, but it's also men want to keep their hair too. So if
yeah. I think you're talking about finasteride.
is that what it is called? I read it. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, this is like the Viagra for hair or something they called it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my mom, after her bladder cancer treatments, she went on oral minoxidil and I bought her a red light therapy cap. And
Oh, okay.
those two things alone, she uses every day, and her hair is just incredible now. I think
Really?
actually looks fuller and better than before.
Okay, we'll have to take some notes from her.
But
That's
here's
great.
the thing. there are solutions out there. There are resources and there are solutions. There's always something available. It might not look perfect and it might not look like when you were younger, but you're sitting here sharing with us how many options that exist that women might not know about. I want to turn to the emotional weight, those fears, the concerns, the feeling of being left behind when women are diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer. What are the most common fears and concerns she might have when she learns that she's facing surgically induced menopause on top of everything else she's already carrying?
So I think as women, anything that affect like people want to know like this is what makes me a woman, right? Your breasts, you think, right? Your breasts, your ovaries, your uterus, and you're concerned like, am I losing my femininity? Am I losing my essence of myself? I mean, just even a cancer diagnosis, does it define you? And so I think that's one of the fears. I mean, there's the normal fears of just surgery in general,
Yeah.
and going in from the anesthesia to the pain to the recovery. And then there are questions are, especially for those who are at risk, is this the right time for me to do it? Should I wait? If I wait, will I get cancer? What if they find cancer when I'm doing this prophylactically? I mean, we have plenty of women, like I mentioned before, they go in and then they find something, but in the end of the day, they're grateful because they found it early.
Hmm.
Um, there's also the fear of how their body is going to respond to this, and are they prepared? Is there anything that they can do now to prepare for it? Um, if they're younger, and we get women who are younger, they want to have children, and is it, and they're going to lose their ovaries, so they have to talk about fertility preservation. And the truth is, the options for younger women, and we know younger women, look, nowadays women are having babies in their 40s. So,
Yeah.
there's a question of, I carry this mutation. Maybe I don't have a partner yet. What do I do? We have a whole program talking to them about freezing their eggs, fertility preservation, things that they can do before either chemotherapy or radiation will compromise their fertility. That's a big fear. Maybe we've had a woman who was turning 40. She was going to do her surgery. She was BRCA positive. Her grandmother and her aunt died of ovarian cancer, so she knew she had to do the surgery, but she always wanted a fourth child. She had three healthy children, but she did everything she could, and it wasn't fair to her, right? All her friends could decide at 40 if they wanted to have another baby, but she was pressured. In the end, she didn't have her fourth child. I think she got a dog. But at the end of the day, there's that fear of like, are my choices being taken away from me, and how will I carry on with my day? And am I going to face other health issues now? Really, I was dealing with cancer now, and now I have to worry about osteoporosis. I mean, I'm so young, and osteoporosis is not something for their 70s and 80s. And how do I protect myself from that? And cardiovascular, I have heart disease in my family, and now I'm being put. So all these things come up, and all these conversations, and even we're talking about intimacy with their partners.
Yeah.
That's a real problem. We're talking about dryness, and there are options, and they think, oh, maybe I can't have vaginal estrogen now because I have breast cancer. And time again, we know, and confirm it with your doctor, that is like, um, it's like skincare. Like you can do it.
Mhm.
So, and sex life is important at this point in your life, even whether you want to have children, whether you need it just for your relationships. So these are all these fears, and having the surgeries. We've had surgeries where, especially prophylactic, where the partners are not so supportive because they're thinking, you don't have cancer. Why are you doing this? We deal with groups of people who have very religious backgrounds and are, concerned about doing surgery when they're not ill, and then their spiritual leaders will say it's not the time to do it. So there are a lot of emotional and cultural issues that come into play, and you need someone to talk to about that because if you bottle it up, I mean, depression could also be a side effect of menopause. You don't
Mhm.
need, and stress. These are all things that become heightened crises when you're dealing with making a decision, and sometimes you don't have all the time in the world. So you need someone who's been there before or has spoken to others to really get you through it. And you need to see everything you can get from it. Like I think about it even from a financial perspective, right? Cancer is expensive. And
Mhm.
so they can call Sharsheret and or anyone and find out like what are all the freebies you can get? Because anything that can mitigate the crisis that you're facing, health-wise, financially, emotionally. that's where we come in and help you because you need a village. You need it, and you don't want to have to go one piece here, one piece there. We can put it all together for you.
What does the conversation look like for the woman who comes to you and says, my partner is just not on board with this? Like, do you see divorces happening during this period of time?
Look, divorce is very prevalent in our country. It depends. Any kind of stress can put on it. And we've seen both sides of the coin. We've seen relationships become stronger and tremendous support, and we've seen relationships break up.
Mm,
I think what our role is we really are listening and take the lead, and we recommend this for family members and friends too, to really listen to the person and what they're going through, and let them lead the conversation and be supportive of what they're doing. But we also offer to speak to partners so that we can help them understand. Sometimes it's so emotional, and we can talk to, we have a family focus program. So we speak to partners all the time about this. And generally, when there is a good basis for love and respect, we can get to a point where people understand why people are doing it and can be supportive. And for those that don't have the most supportive partners, there are others that they can rely on because it's a hard experience for everyone. It's not
yeah,
just you. When you go through anything and you're in a relationship, a committed relationship, it affects. So we really care for everyone in the relationship. And we're seeing most people are really getting through it pretty well with the right people, assuming things were strong before.
that's amazing. Is the menopause conversation happening proactively for these women, or does it tend to arrive as an afterthought after decisions have already been made? So, like for my mom, for example, she was told nothing. She was 50 years old, had the diagnosis, went through radiation, obviously had the lumpectomy. I had a 6-month-old baby at the time, so I went to the hospital with her almost every day that she had radiation. And there was no talk of menopause, nothing. And what's the average age of menopause in the United States? It's 51. She was 50. She was already on estrogen, progesterone, taken off all of the hormones, and told you can never go back on these again. And so that put the fear of God in her. So she still will never take hormones. Um,
And look, she's at 85, so whatever she's doing is probably going to
right.
be really well for her. But again, everyone's so individual. But yeah, it's like, what, how many years ago was that? So that's 35 years
30,
ago.
35 years ago. So I'm just wondering, in your organization, are you having these conversations about menopause with women proactively?
Yeah, so I would say certainly one of the pros of social media is that it's coming to the forefront. So
Hmm.
we see it more and we hear women talking about it. So that I would say we've seen a shift. Like I've been there a long time. We're talking about it way more now in the last 5 years than before that. And also because of like your collective, things like that are popping up and women are interested and they want to know. And we're also partnering with medical professionals who have these wellness centers that are popping up all over the country, where women can get all these services to manage menopause. And then we infuse this whole breast cancer or genetic predisposition for cancer into it. So we are proactively bringing it up. So, for example, we had this online medical webinar just last week about HRT, hormone replacement therapy for previvors and survivors, with someone who's very well versed in it. And that's where I think the key is. Clinicians are now getting certifications or education about this that they didn't get maybe in medical school. They didn't focus on this then. And so it's really, I think they would be interested, but they need to be told by their patients, we want more information. And now they're slowly being trained, and we can help people identify certain medical professionals who have this expertise. And you can go to them. And doctors are very open to you going to another doctor for things that they can't do or not do. Like in this country, we're very open to getting second opinions and not being afraid to speak to multiple medical professionals.
I would say yes and no.
You're seeing differently?
I have certainly heard my clients come to me and say, my doctor will not have this discussion with me. They do not believe in, X, Y, and Z, and therefore the conversation is shut down, and they are not given a referral out to someone who might be better suited to have the conversation, whether it's on hormone replacement therapy options, um, whatever it is regarding menopause. So, and I do think that that stems from the lack of education some of these clinicians get or don't obviously receive in medical school. And there's either the clinician who says, "Hey, I am going to go get further educated on this topic because I want to serve my population," or there's the clinician who's like, I'm close to retiring. I'm not going
I'm
out
not getting
there.
any certified. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not learning anything more, right? This is,
Yeah.
this is just how it is. So yeah, it's a really confusing time for women because I have 5 kids. So I went to this same
Wow.
OBGYN who delivered all 5 of my babies. But your OBGYN isn't necessarily the person who's going to help you with menopause care. But a lot of women, just like you go to a hairdresser, you go to the nail salon, you have your person that you've been going to for decades, and they become like your therapist. And you don't want to switch people because you have this sense of trust with them. So I think that's why the conversation that we're having is so important because I want women to know there's a plethora of options out there for all conversations. And it's just about piecing together the healthcare team that works for you.
Right. I guess if we had to give a takeaway, it's to say it's not a yes or a no,
Yeah.
right? And that you really should get more information and probably due to lack of training. It's
Yeah.
not because it's necessarily dangerous. Now, look, if you've had cancer, it is highly recommended that you speak to your doctor about any interventions that you're considering for menopause. But having the right information, so from you or from Sharsheret or from, some studies can convince your doctor and educate them. Like it's okay to push and be your best advocate. And they really do need menopause specialists like you to help them because you have the information. And some of their doctors, while they may be terrific oncologists or surgeons, they may not have the most up-to-date information. A lot of them are working off an old study from 2002. So
Hmm.
that wasn't even 100% accurate. Like I think it's the Women's Health Initiative. So we really have to and look, everything's well intentioned. I don't think anyone's out there in these doctors, but we know that there is good science behind this. We also, as women, should be pushing for more science about this. Women have lagged in research behind men for many, many years. So, we can only go up from here.
Yeah, exactly. Like my mom's oncologists and doctors who handled her bladder cancer will not let her use vaginal estrogen. And I even brought in from the American Urology Association, they have a form that you can print out and actually bring to your doctor. And in there are all the guidelines of using vaginal estrogen. Of course, the black box warning was lifted. And there's this whole section on cancer survivorship for breast cancer survivors and how to use vaginal estrogen and that it is okay. But still, some doctors just, they have their
And look,
preconceived.
she's a good case. Like she's doing really well, so they don't want to mess up their work there.
Right.
But that's part of the problem, right? Like this is a real
Yeah.
thing, and women are suffering. Like she may be, and look, there's some women that go through menopause that are fine and are managing it and are okay, and maybe don't necessarily have as severe side effects as other women. But we don't want to not focus on the opportunity to improve quality of life for women. We are active, we're running businesses, we're raising families, we are making changes in the world. We want to be our best, and we can be with what's available if we get the right people to focus on good science and good information.
Yeah. Let's talk about how you offer this information. What does the community support that Sharsheret offers look like in practice? Peer connections, professional resources, and education programs.
Okay, so Sharsheret, again, was started by busy women. So we understand you don't have time to go to another office, fill out another intake, no time for that. Sharsheret is, we say we are wherever you are. You can pick up the phone, you can text us, you can message us, live chat us on our website. Basically, you connect with us however you want. By the way, I'll just say if you're on social media, we're on Instagram, Sharsheret Official. There are a lot of groups because we're also on every college campus because we do education to college kids about their risk for cancer and measures they
Mm,
can take to protect their health, healthy lifestyle behaviors today. women at 25 are recommended to get a risk assessment for their risk for breast cancer. You can go to your doctor and they will tell you what your risk is and how you should be screening, even if you're not at increased risk, like what you should do at 25 and, 40s mammogram. But those are things. So we're educating college students on campus about that. Um, so basically, you connect to Sharsheret. Again, everything is free, everything is confidential. We have all different time zones because we have people working in LA and people working in New York. So if you want early morning, late night, we're all over. You connect with Sharsheret and you don't even have to know why you're calling, right? You can just get on the phone and say, listen, I'm concerned about breast cancer, ovarian cancer, genetics. We also help some women who have endometrial cancer to get, it's not exactly the same, but we can get them what they need a little bit. It's a different experience. And then we listen to they tell you a story. They are not filling out a form. You do not, I'm telling you now, you do not have to, you might have to fill out a form on our website, like contact me, but that's it. And we listen
Hmm.
to the story and what's going on. It's a conversation. And within that conversation, the social worker, the genetic counselor, the mental health professional will hear what your concerns are. And then Sharsheret has hundreds of opportunities to help you. Like if you're going through something and it would be really helpful, you're making a decision whether you should try hormone replacement therapy or like other things that can help you in menopause. We can match you up with another woman, similar age, similar background, similar lifestyle, working, not working, raising kids, whatever, to share her experience and get tips and tricks from these women. We also have that in written form if people want. We have a Facebook group that people can get. And then through your experience, if you're going in for surgery, we can get you a kit mailed to your house. Again, you don't have to go anywhere. We give you a kit on what you need to prepare for surgery and post-surgery. You're getting a special jacket that holds the drain holders. You're getting the drain holders. You're getting a seatbelt cover. You're getting a pillow to lift your arm. You're getting, this is what you need to wear to the hospital. This is what you need to eat before, take off your nail polish before surgery, like little tons of information. If you're going for chemotherapy, we're going to mail you a makeup kit and how to draw eyebrows if you're going to lose your hair and all these hair resources. If you have young kids or, and you want to, we give you something called a busy box. So it has resources for mom and her partner, and spouse or whoever it is raising children on how to talk to their kids at every age. But then we have age appropriate toys included. So keep kids busy while mom is at the doctor or recovering. We provide financial assistance for people who are going through this. There's the financial toxicity associated. So basically, you get a quarterback and they get you everything you need. You don't have to go anywhere. We get everything to you. We run hundreds of medical webinars. So, for example, if they're worried about taking their ovaries out, we have a webinar specifically called do I need to take out my ovaries? And we have the top gynocs in the country on this webinar, young, brilliant women, doctors who also some of them personally affected, who been the patient, been the doctor, know all the science and can tell you. And then the whole thing that we're doing on menopause, we provide them with, they're going tomorrow to the doctor to talk about menopause. We'll give you the questions to ask to springboard the conversation. What should you be thinking about? It won't have every question, but it'll start the conversation. So it all starts with connecting with Sharsheret, however you want to connect. Um, and then we create like a plan for you. And then we check in with you it depends if something's scheduled, like if you're going in to see, you're going to the menopause specialist tomorrow, we'll call it how to go. What else do you need? What else questions do you need? Oh, you're scheduling surgery? We'll check in before, we'll check in with after. You want to speak to a peer supporter? We'll make sure she's available. She'll call you. We'll get everything going and everything is done in real time because we don't make you wait. Like, when you get a biopsy, you have to wait
Yeah.
days. No. Sharsheret, you call. If you don't speak to someone within that hour, you'll be speaking to someone within a few. Um, and we just stay on top of you. I mean, that's what we do. That's the experience.
It's absolutely incredible. I had no idea you had all of these resources. I mean, this is just a gold mine for uh, women and men and their families. How can the broader midlife women's community, women who've not faced cancer, show up for women who have or who are going through it now?
Okay. So again, the first thing is we tell people to listen and be there for people. Like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, nobody wants unsolicited advice. They're getting advice from, and nobody wants to hear, well, my sister had this. Like, no. the first thing we're telling them is the first thing they should do is refer them to Sharsheret. And they'll say, why? I say, I don't know. I just heard this person on Jill Fu's podcast. Call them if you're, that's the first thing. The second thing is to always offer a specific way to help. Like you have 5 kids. So if someone would say to someone like you, I am going to the grocery store tomorrow. What can I get for you? Not, do you need me to do anything? You have kids. I'm going to pick up the kids from dance today and bring them home. You don't have to think about it. So give a specific thing that you can do. And the other thing is validate them. Like I think you can't always say everything's going to be all right. But what you can say is you're doing the right thing. So, for example, someone reached out to me last week and she said, "Oh, I'm BRCA positive, and I'm putting together my medical team. I didn't even think of calling you guys, and I'm seeing Dr. X next week." So my answer to her was like, "I'm so sorry we weren't there for you, but you're doing all the right things." And you know what? She was like, and I said, and the truth is, I know the doctor that you're going, and so many women have Sharsheret because we ask people to tell us who they're using because women want to know who's everybody using. And I said,
Right.
we have a bunch of women who've used this doctor and they've been very happy going to him for their surgeries. So I think that just made her feel calm. And I think the whole goal is to be there for them. And another thing is, it's never too much to check on people. I've heard more from people who've had cancer that people have dropped them. And I was like, people drop you when you have cancer? So I think it's coming from a good place that they're dropping you. They check in with you, but you don't always answer because you're busy. Or so we tell people you can never check in on someone too much, but don't ask how are you doing. Just say, "Hey, thinking of you." Send, with texting now, send an emoji, "Hey," sending virtual hugs, you know, tell them, I've thought of you today because, this was a song we used to sing in college. I don't know. And keep checking in because what's going to happen is one of those times they are going to have a minute to talk or they're going to feel loved. So I think it's a very isolating experience, even though everyone's like, the walks and the talks about cancer. Keep checking in, but don't ask them for anything and keep offering specific things. You can never check on someone too much. They don't have to answer you. And don't expect an
Yeah.
answer. Don't be insulted if they don't answer
Right.
you. It's not personal.
Yeah, all really good advice there. I wanted to ask you, and now my menopause brain has taken over, the referrals. I really can appreciate the referral service that you have going on and knowing women who have used clinicians and have had positive experiences. Because in my world, when I refer to a menopause care expert, it's not always just the clinician that might be great. It's how does their office work? And
A
there are
100%. You are so, so right.
Mhm.
You hit the nail on the head. It's so important.
Yeah, there are so many women that come back to me and say the doctor was great, but getting to the doctor was just the biggest bumpy road ever. It was horrible. I can't go back. I show up and they don't have me down for the right day. The labs weren't called in. The portal doesn't work properly. I wait past 48 hours. I have a woman who's waited 6 months for her doctor to get back to her on a question from the portal. She finally just left and went to another clinician. But yeah, the whole office culture and customer service matter.
No, it's true. I mean, we had a woman who said, like, I think she had to take a ferry to the doctor. Like, that was like the way to get
Mhm.
there. And she had to wait all the time. It didn't matter whether you had an appointment. And so, if you have other things that you have to get to, these are things like, so it's a whole experience. And so, wow, and people always ask us, like, are you a medical referral? We're not a medical referral organization because there are plenty of good doctors out there that we don't know. But we certainly can tell you who everyone's using. And like you said, connect them with other women and tell them like, some people want their doctor to be amazing bedside manner. And some people are like, I just want them to do the medical. And that's a really
Right.
important thing. Some doctors give out their cell phone numbers. Like, there are like amazing things going on there, but speaking to other people. But yes, I agree with you. I mean, you also run the risk that like one person's experience could be better than others. And so like they'll be like, wow, you said it was so great and it wasn't. Um, but anyone that we've seen women use that they're usually positive experiences and doctors that are well known and high credentials and
Mhm.
very well respected in the community. But
Yeah,
you're right, the patient experience makes all the difference.
all the difference. All right, we're at the end of our episode here, and I want to ask when someone comes to your website, which I'm going to put in the show notes, is there a place for them to sign up where they are going to get newsletters and so they can see what program is coming out in terms of some of your live webinars or
Yeah. They can definitely go to contact us and there's information.
okay.
Look, I'm an open book. I'm fine if anyone, I'll give out my cell phone because the truth is I just want to help people. So, I mean,
Mhm.
you can go on our website, you can email, you can text, but once you sign up for anything, like you register for a webinar, then you will start to get information about additional resources but you can just go to contact us. You can also, if you're on Instagram, I see it happen all the time that people are direct messaging us. Hey, I just saw your post. I really like this. And we have someone monitoring that and they'll answer you. We have like entire conversations going on through Facebook messaging and Instagram. So you can definitely do that. But yes, and you can ask for what you want and we're happy to help in any way and everything. And the website might need help navigating. There's a ton of information. So you can just ask for someone to help you find what you need anytime. We're
Yeah.
eager to help. We are eager to help. We have like a very passionate group of people working there.
Oh, it is very apparent that you do. Elana, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this perspective of breast and ovarian cancer that really is not talked about enough. We're out there talking about the medical side, the survivorship, but really not all of the parts in between in this gray zone of really navigating your life and your emotion, your family, your relationships. Such important information. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm so grateful that you're out there doing the work that you're doing alongside all of the people that work within the organization. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I feel like you're part of the chain. You know, you're a link in the chain, and we're only as strong as the links that we bring
Yeah.
together. So everyone on the call is a part of the chain and really, kudos to you. You are on the cutting edge of what the future for American women and health, that's what it means and we can do more when we're healthy. So thank you for really leading the way and showing us what to do. We really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. And for everyone who's tuned in, thank you so much. Please share this with a friend, a coworker, a family member, whoever it is in your life that needs to hear all this information. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Lifestyle changes can be hard and overwhelming to make. By building your support team of functional medicine doctors, therapists, and health coaches, you can reach your optimal health goals. Be sure to check out my other podcasts. Until we meet again, stay healthy.